So the meeting is automatically being recorded. And then, yeah. Okay. So I will pass the time to Jing to starting our webinar today.
Great. Yuhua, maybe you can
Okay,
get started.
yeah, let's start. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our panel discussion with journal editors. And I'm one of today's moderators, Yuhua Zhu, and I'm also an assistant professor in the Department of Statistics and Data Science at UCLA. It's really a pleasure to have such a distinguished group of panelists with us today to share their insights and experiences about statistic journals.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Xiaowu Dai, an assistant professor of stats and biostats at UCLA. I'm also a moderator for today's panel. So this event is held by ICSA. The full name is International Chinese Statistical Association. So to begin, I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Jing Zhou, chair of the ICSA Outreach and Engagement. So she will start to give us a brief introduction about ICSA. So Jing is an associate professor of biostats at UCLA. Let's welcome Jing to give us an opening remark.
Thank you so much, Xiaowu. Let me share my screen with several slides. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Xiaowu and Yuhua, and thank you all the panelists and attendees. So let me briefly introduce ICSA and how to get engaged with our society. So ICSA was founded in 1987. Currently, ICSA has over 4,000 active members. We offer different kinds of membership options. I especially wanted to highlight that student membership is free. So if you want to know more, please scan the QR code to the right. Besides membership, we also publish 2 prestigious journals. We are very fortunate today to have Dr. Judy Wang, the co-editor of Statistica Sinica, joining us as one of our panelists. Beyond the publishing, ICSA actively organizes and co-sponsors several conferences, so please do check them out. Last year, ICSA also launched its webinar series. We are currently organizing several events, and one of them is focusing on the causal inference in pharmaceutical statistics, which will be heard at the end of April, and the announcement will be sent out soon. We're also preparing 2 grant writing workshops that is designed to help researchers navigating NSF and NIH grant applications. So there are past webinar recordings which are available at this YouTube channel, and you can simply just scan the QR code to follow the channel. Okay. So lastly, if you would like to stay tuned, get more up-to-date news and events, I encourage you to follow us on X, formerly Twitter, and LinkedIn. Also, you can check out our website. There is a monthly newsletter that is published highlighting all the important events within the society. So lastly, I would like to briefly go over several logistics for today's webinar. For the Q&A, just feel free to submit any questions in the Q&A during the session, throughout the session. Audience can also upvote for the questions, and the speaker will address them in the order of popularity at the end of panel discussion, if time permits. All the video recording will be shared via a follow-up email 5 days after the event. And this webinar will last for 1 hour. So if you have to leave early, feel free to do so. And you can check out the video recording later. Okay, so without further ado, I'm gonna turn it back to Xiaowu and Yuhua. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Jing, for the opening remark. Now I will introduce today's panelists. Our first panelist is Professor Judy Wang. Judy is currently chair in the Department of Statistics at George Washington University. She is an elected fellow of ICSA and IMS. She currently serves as a co-editor for Statistica Sinica and an associate editor for JASA. Let's welcome Judy to give us a quick introduction about Statistica Sinica.
So Statistica Sinica is a journal that publishes paper that on methodological, theoretical developments, including computational developments. So it's a very comprehensive journal. It covers almost all topics related to statistics. As long as there are substantial novel contributions that could potentially advance the broad field of statistical data science and related areas. The review typically, it's very similar to other statistical journals, but oftentimes there will be the papers could be screened by either the co-editors, or we also have a list of screening editors. So their jobs are to help co-editors to first screen those papers and see whether there could be a good chance for the paper to go through full reviews. And the screening editors will fill out a form, evaluate, say, how likely you think the paper would could be successful to be published in this journal. There are different categories. And also reviewing screening editors will also give some comments, highlight, say, the strengths and the weaknesses that they identify, and provide some brief comments. So those comments oftentimes are helpful for co-editors to make a decision whether it's worthwhile to send out for a full round of review. And my personal experience, this has been very helpful to shorten the review cycle so that we can give a timely response if screening editors and co-editors think that the paper may not be a good fit to the journal. So our associate editors are working very hard and trying to give timely feedback to authors. And we have associate editors working in different areas. And one thing I want to point it out is we also currently have a call for paper submission for special issues on covariate adaptive randomization and covariate adjusted analysis in clinical trials. So if you're working in that area, or if you know someone or your collaborators are working in that area, please let them know about this special issue. And the information about this special issue can be found on the website of Statistica Sinica. The submission deadline is the end of the year, December 31st. And we have several special issue co-editors and associate editors. They will be handling the review process of submissions to the special issue. So I'm going to stop here, and I'm sure later there will be questions, and I can address those later on.
Thank you, Judy, for the very brief but very informative introduction. Actually, some of your introduction already cover partially our questions later on. And so our next panelist is Professor Hans Müller. And Hans is a professor of statistics at UC Davis. His research focuses on theory, methods, and applications in statistics, with particular emphasis on non-parametric statistics, functional and longitudinal data analysis, and the analysis of data in geodesic spaces. He currently serves as co-editor for the Annals of Statistics. Let's welcome Hans to give us a quick introduction about Annals of Statistics.
Yeah, right. Thank you for the introduction. I share the link. I don't know whether you can see this under the share to our article that we just published in the IMS bulletin about the Annals of Statistics. So Harrison Zhu and I are the new co-editors. We just started 2.5 months ago. And we wrote a IMS article, 1 page, which gives and outlines the goals. I hope everybody can see this. I have put it on the chat, the link. Please share that link because a lot of information is there in this article. It just came out in the March issue of the IMS bulletin. So in case you cannot get the chat or you cannot see it in the chat or cannot get to the link, you can read up in the IMS bulletin, which you get if you are a member of the IMS. Okay, so what we want is innovation in the first place and also impact. These are the 2 key criteria for analysis of statistics. Of course, the focus is on mathematical statistics, but is not limited to mathematical statistics. In fact, we also do applied statistics and interdisciplinary statistics as per the Annals of Statistics IMS policy. It has mathematical statistics emphasized and also applied statistics is emphasized. So your article does not have to be technical, but it has to be extremely innovative. That's okay. We do not require a lot of theoretical support or depths in theory. This is welcome, but it's not required. I want to emphasize this because the general perspective is that you have to have very strong theory for analysis of statistics. That is absolutely not true. We just want the top innovation papers. And so we also want forward-looking areas. We especially welcome papers in AI and machine learning these days. Interface with statistics, particularly. That would be great if we get more paper in this direction. What is important when you submit to analysis of statistics that you make it very clear what's the novelty and the impact. Okay, we don't want a very technical start of a paper without making it very clear what exactly is the novelty and in which area. Is it just a technical improvement of some sort? Or is it more a new idea, which we favor actually? So what we don't want is some technical small improvement where somebody shows that maybe a rate can be improved by a log n factor or something like this. This would not be particularly interesting for us. If it's very hard to prove and very important, we still may take it. But I want to make it clear that we have a very, very broad focus. It's not narrow on mathematical statistics. So you need to describe your innovation in the cover letter. It's very highly recommended that you send a cover letter along with your paper. And also in abstract and introduction, you need to emphasize the innovation and the impact. This is the #1 criterion. If we don't see innovation impact, we'll do a desk reject, either right away from the editor, co-editor, or by the associate editor. Okay, so make sure that you have a credible innovation impact. And we also would like to get some broader perspective paper. If they have some innovation, we will be very interested, which could also be useful or the basis for a discussion paper. Okay, we also take discussion papers. If you think your paper is potentially suitable for discussion, then please say so in your cover letter. Of course, it has to be of broad interest to be suitable for discussion, but we encourage such papers and also broad perspectives. We also want to shorten the review times, as also Judy said, we do this partly by desk reject. Okay, so there will be more quick desk rejects perhaps than in the past. So just move on and don't try to rebuttal those. They are often subjective and based on whether we think there's enough innovation, which you can, of course, have different opinions about, okay? So rebuttal doesn't really help you. It just holds you up in most cases. Rebuttal is only useful if you can pinpoint an error by a reviewer, that the reviewer really misunderstood something or has an error in the evaluation of your paper, a clear error, then a rebuttal may be successful. I mention this because Annals of Statistics is famous to get a lot of rebuttals, okay? And they are mostly not successful. I just want to say this upfront. And we also want very nicely written supplements. The supplementary materials have been problematic in some cases. There have been gaps in the proofs, which usually are in the supplement, and we do not want this. So your supplement needs to be comprehensive in a good format, accessible, and a graduate student who wants to follow up your theorems has to be able to follow step by step through the supplement. There should not be major gaps. Okay, so in short, that's my brief intro here.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Hans. Yeah, I do find the article mentioned you wrote with Professor Harry Zhou. I posted to the chat, and then later we'll also post that to the YouTube channel so everyone can read that. Yeah, thank you again for introduction. Our next panelist is Professor Lexing Li. Lexing is Professor of Biostats at UC Berkeley. He's a fellow of ASA, IMS, and more recently, AAAS. So he currently serves as the editor-in-chief of the Annals of Applied Statistics. So let's welcome Lexing to give us a quick introduction about Annals of Applied Statistics.
Thanks, Xiao. And can I share my screen?
Yes.
Oh, okay, 1 second. Sorry, I'm a little slow. Let me try to pull this up. Okay, everyone can see my screen here.
Okay.
This is just a website of the Annals of Applied Statistics. Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I guess it may be helpful just to provide some quick information about this journal, if we can see some of the stuff here. Yeah, so organization of the journal is like I'm the editor-in-chief, and then we have 6 area editors, and then we have a good number of associate editors. So my area editors and I, we work together to do initial screening of the submissions. Mostly we try to decide if the paper is a good match to our journal. Like Hans said, the innovation is very important. What we emphasize in this particular journal, I think there are 2 things. One is also the methodology innovation. The other is the application, because from the name, it's Annals of Applied Statistics. So we do emphasize on the application side. And also to better explain what we are looking for, or the papers we are kind of focusing on. I wrote a short editorial, so you can, if you click the link here on the journal's website, you can it will take you to this like 2-page editorial. So here, I do want to clarify a little bit what we are looking for, and also some directions we are emphasizing. So we are looking for the papers that are driven by real-world applications. This is very, very important. By that, we mean this, the data analysis should play a very central role in the paper, not just an illustrative example. So our paper is not exactly the same like, many papers published like in JASA or Annals, for instance, not like, oh, I have a new method, a new model, a lot of very good theory, but then a very short illustration with some simulations or some or toy example or very short real data example. So in our case, we are placing more emphasis on the real data part. So we like to see a detailed introduction of the problem, why this is interesting, why this is a good motivation of your method, of your model. And we also like to see a detailed analysis of the particular data set, we'd like to see some, detailed discussion of what new insights you have found from your data analysis and discuss some possible impact on the application areas. So I think that's probably one of the differences compared to some other biostat journals. But then for the methodological side, we are also looking for innovations. That's equally important. We are not usually we are not looking for papers that just apply some off-the-shelf, well-established tools to some data, do some analysis, and that's it. So that's also not the papers we are looking for. So my area editors and I do quite a bit of initial screening. And in a lot of situations, rejection of a paper does not necessarily reflect the quality of the paper. The paper could be a very high quality work, but in a lot of situations, it's not just a good match. As a very simple example, like I've seen, papers developing very solid methods, very nice ideas, but there is no real data analysis, or maybe just like a half a page, a quarter page of the data analysis. So in those cases, it's just not a good fit to the journal. So I like to clarify on that. But if that is the case, we try very hard to give our feedback as soon as possible. So we don't want to delay the paper to find the suitable, home for that paper. Okay, and then other than that, I also like to mention, we all know right now it's a quite exciting timing, right? This development, super fast development of AI, new data modalities, new technologies. So I feel it's very, very exciting and very interesting to better integrate all these new technologies, new data modalities with statistics, biostatistics. So we are also I would like to say, placing some emphasis on certain areas. First of all, of course, all aspects of applied statistics are something we are very interested in, like computational biology, medicine, neuroscience, environmental science, physical, social, political sciences. And those are still the topics areas we are very excited about. But in addition to those, we are equally excited about large language models, generative AI, deep learning, reinforcement learning, and some more recent applications, EHR, wearable device, personalized medicine, as well as like causal inference in complex biological social systems. So these are some topics we are also very excited about. We welcome submissions on those topics to the journal. And I also like to quickly mention we have introduced some sort of new tracks of the papers in this journal. One type is prospective paper, the other is data-centric paper. So the prospective paper, we are inviting some leaders in different topic areas to write a good overview paper, but not just a review of that particular field, but also provide information about what are some really important open questions from their years of experiences, years of research in that particular field. What open questions have potential important impact, and they also offer some information like some open benchmark data sets or some open source code that could help new researchers to get into those areas. And the second one, the data-centric paper, this one is a little bit, again, different from the traditional statistics or biostatistics papers. This kind of paper, provide some high quality, good benchmark data. And we all know it's super, super important to have benchmark data. And so it could, introduce new data types, new data infrastructures, new data processing pipelines, for instance. And finally, I'd also like to mention we are planning a special issue on AI in general for this journal. So we will send out the announcement probably soon, and in roughly about 1 month, we will provide more information. So we'd like to encourage and welcome all of you to send those papers related to AI, like large language models, generative AI, deep learning, reinforcement learning, so on and so forth, to AOAS. Yeah, I will stop there.
Thank you, Lexi, for a very informative introduction. We'll come back to many of these points later. Let me introduce our last panelist, Professor Michele Guindani. Michele is a professor of biostats at UCLA. He served as editor-in-chief of Bayesian analysis from 2019 to 2021. He's also founding co-editor of the new ASA journal on statistics and data science in imaging. So he also served as one of the chief statistical advisor for Nature Medicine. So let's welcome Michele to give us a quick introduction about these journals.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you and discuss this new journal of the American Statistical Association, Statistics and Data Science in Imaging. First of all, I'm not the only co-editor of the journal. Marina Vannucci serves as editor-in-chief. Hernando Mbao and Martin Lindquist are also other co-editors of the journal. So this new journal of ASA wants to be a platform for the dissemination of research findings, methodological advancements, and applications related to the statistical analysis of imaging data. In many disciplines today, we can see an increasing availability, and an increasing growth of the use of complex imaging data sets. So we thought that there was the need for a journal that could address the unique challenges and needs of this field. Now, when we talk about analysis of imaging data, we actually are talking about this in a very broad sense. We are not, we are including, for example, neuroimaging, but we are not only neuroimaging. We would like to get medical imaging, satellite imaging, astronomy, remote sensing, material science applications. In terms of the audience that you are thinking of, so I think that one particular characteristics of the journal is that we are actually hoping to get the most statisticians, but we are trying, even from the same title of the journal, Statistics in Data Science in Imaging, to be appealing to a wider audience, including engineers, computer scientists, data scientists, trying anyway to have solid foundations in statistics, right, as the motive underlying their contributions. So for that reason, we are actually looking into a wide variety of submissions. In addition to the methodological research papers, where we expect, of course, the statistical component to be particularly strong and innovative in some different ways, even for the application to the journal, to the particular imaging modalities that it is considered. We, of course, will consider, discussion papers. We will, of course, consider in-depth reviews or overviews, like Lexin mentioned for his journal, for the Annals of Applied Statistics, right? But we also would like to have case study papers, essentially studies where you have, field investigators together with statisticians presenting a problem from different perspectives, maybe a big challenge in a modality, and then how the statistical relationship with the statisticians helped solve the problem. So sort of an idea of what actually is happening often in some conferences, for example, the conference of a statistics in imaging section of ASA has often these case study sessions. So we would like to transpose these to the journal. But also, we are also looking really to share and discuss best practices. So imaging data sets often come with a lot of pre-processing. So we are also open and would be willing to get best practices for pipelines of data pre-processing that can be shared and become sort of a standard for the community. So in this regard, it's a journal that has overlap with other journals in the ASA, IMS family, and ICSA family, but it is also very specific characteristics.
Great, yeah, thank you, Michele, for the introduction. So we will start to ask some questions for our panelists, and we prepare a few, and we will later select some from the QA input from our audience. So let's start with maybe the simplest one, like Hans and Judy, you mentioned you probably will DEX reject some papers. What are the most common reasons you DEX reject a paper? And if the author want to make it correct, what are the ways they can do it to go through the editors like that round? So maybe yeah, we will go any order like you like. Probably this time go from like Judy and Hans and Lexing and Michele. Next time we'll permute the order. Yeah.
And so for me, what I see most the DEC rejection is that we didn't see novel development in any of the areas, methodology, theory, or applications or computation. So papers that could have addressed interesting research problems, but the tools are either off the shelf, well-established methods, or some straightforward modifications of existing techniques or combination of existing techniques.
Yeah, and for annals, it's the same. Annals of statistics, it's the same. Lack of innovation and impact, because these are the two key criteria. And so somebody may have a mathematically deep paper, but the improvement is minimal. There's just an epsilon improvement over an existing approach. And unless a case could be made that the theory or the proof is very innovative, there are totally new tools there, then this kind of paper is a no-go, because the impact and innovation is insufficient for annals. So these are the two key reasons why there's a desk reject. Okay, it's very similar to what Judy just said. For annals also.
Great.
Yeah, for the annals of applied statistics, most cases it's the mismatch is that the paper is mostly methodology oriented with little or almost no real data application. And then there are also some papers propose some essentially use some existing methods or just a very simple extension of some existing methods to do some data analysis. So relatively speaking, lack of methodology innovation. So that's also not a good fit.
Great.
Perfect. Yes, first of all, I typically don't like the term desk reject. I try to say the paper is not considered further for publication in this journal, because it sort of gives a different perspective. For us, I think that there are a few things to consider. First of all, it's an imaging journal, so if it is not concerned with imaging, if it is out of scope, it doesn't fit, right? And in particular, one thing that you want to see is the impact on the application, but also a statistical methodology that can be reproducible, validated, and so this is something that we need to look for. Another point that I want to make is the following. When an editor decides not to consider a paper for further publication at the first step, typically, this is also my experience with Bayesian analysis, is because also we get to know our editorial board well, and we know what our AE reviewers are looking for. So typically we take a decision thinking, okay, this paper is very good, but it's gonna have problems, and the reviewers are gonna come back probably with these comments, and we already sort of envision what may be the track for the paper. So often it's just a way to save time for everybody.
Yeah, thanks to all the panelists for the informative answers. I think each editor gives us a very explicit answer on what kind of paper would be a good fit for their journal. And as Michele just said, and with that information, I think it will save both sides a lot of time if you submit your paper to the right journal. Okay, so next question, as Lexing and Hans have already mentioned a little bit, we are now in a transformative area of AI. So are there any specific topics that you are especially excited to publish in your journal? So this time we will start with Hans and then Lexing, Macaulay, and Judy.
Right. So we are interested in large language models, for example, and also reinforcement learning, generative modeling. But anything that is upcoming and of current interest in AI is a good fit for the annals, as long as it has impact in statistics. So there has to be an interface with statistics. If there's no interface, if it's a pure sort of AI machine learning article without statistical impact, it's not a good fit for the annals. I should also say that we have the policy that if somebody published a paper in EURIPS or similar, ICML is coming up these days, and wants to publish the proofs or more extended version in the Annals of Statistics, we are not favorable to this. Okay, so we want also the key innovative idea in the annals and not have it published somewhere else and we publish the proofs. This is coming up occasionally, and we are kind of not usually accepting such papers. There could be, of course, exceptions. In case the proof is really innovative or there is a statistical impact in the proof part, we will consider it. But the key is that the innovation, the innovative part, the idea part should be published also in the Annals of Statistics. I mean, I want to say the following: the ideas are the most precious things because there are not many really new ideas around. They are very hard to catch, and we want to catch them for the Annals of Statistics. We want to have the really new stuff that's coming up, and the new ideas, at least very new for statistics. Yeah.
But for our journal, of course, we are all excited to have AI applications because, due to the nature of imaging modalities. And I think so there are a lot of opportunities there, and there are also a lot of challenges, right? So one thing that we are gonna learn, right, as we go, right, to deal with these high dimensional large data sets and trying to understand the different factors that may affect, right, the association between studies outcome and predictors, right? And so, but the main point that I would like to make is that for us, like, Annals of Statistics, the important point is the impact for the statistics, right? For us, is the impact for the application as well. And also give us it's so important for us to see the interpretability. And so as again, if you just try to put together AI methods of different sources to get to an outcome, probably we're not going to be that interested into that, right? If you are trying to develop, use AI methods with a statistical thought at the basis, right? With, thoughtful, that means also methodologically, theoretically based, at the level that it's gonna create a good, replicable, reproducible methodology. That's what we're interested in, and the impact eventually that this methodology is going to have on the particular field of application, imaging-related field of application that you have in your mind.
Great. Judy, do you have any?
Sorry, whose turn, Judy or me? Either way, go.
Oh, yeah, let's see, yes.
Okay, we are also quite excited about publishing papers related to AI. I would also like to say AI is very a broad term, right? So it encompasses maybe a bit more traditional machine learning techniques. Those are also interesting, but of course, large language models, transformers, diffusion models, reinforcement learning. We are very interested in all those topics as well. And there are two lines we are quite interested in, or one line is like, how those AI tools, those modern AI tools can help to address some statistical or biostatistical problems. But then we're also interested in another line where we like to see how statistics thinking, statistical principles can help improve some of those AI tools. So we are quite excited about those kind of applications-oriented research related to AI. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think everyone's open for AI, and AI, as Lexing said, it's a very broad concept. It covers many topics. So statistical Sinica, we're not going to, at least for now, we do not have a very specific research directions. We're open to all ideas, fresh ideas, novel ideas. But of course, as we mentioned earlier, it has a potential to advance the statistics and help understanding either machine learning or diffusion models and new AI tools. And those topics are welcome, but we will still use the same criteria to evaluate. And by we, I mean our reviewers and associate editors paying attention to fundamental contributions, not just applying or using methods developed in some other fields to solve problems, but really a novelty and the significance impact in advancing statistics. Me, myself, of course, are very excited and would love to see more submissions in new research directions. But again, Statistical Sinica is a comprehensive methodological journal, so we welcome submissions in all areas.
Thank you, Judy. Yeah, all the panelists signal strong like about the AI or generative like data science, these directions. I'm also curious, like as Hans also mentioned, like now lots of people working on ICML, for example, NeurIPS, ICML, ICLR, those like conferences, they often offer faster publication timelines, like 4 months. I mean, one shot done if it's get accepted, or try next round if unfortunate. So from like a statistical journal perspective, what can we do to stay competitive in terms of review speed, but without like compromising the quality? So we still want the solid papers, but we also want like faster reviews. Do you have any like ideas? Maybe this time let's start with Lexing and then Michele and Judy, Hans, please.
Sorry, what's the question again?
The question is that what can statistics journal do to stay competitive in terms of the review speed, but without compromising the quality?
Okay, yeah, that's very important question. Yeah, especially given the fast development of a lot of topics, especially in AI. Here, I like to argue that on one hand we are the editors and associate editors as well as reviewers, we are working very hard to ensure a reasonable time frame to return the reviews. On the other hand, I'd like to mention that the review quality usually is higher and is more consistent compared to journals, compared to conferences. Therefore, if you look at the overall review time, for the journals, it's not necessarily much longer than a review time for the conferences if the paper is rejected by the conference by 1 time or 2 times, right? So if we take that into account, I feel we are somewhat competitive. We are usually able to find AEs with right matching expertise, similarly for referees, and usually the reviews are quite consistent, high quality. Yeah, so overall we feel that the time is reasonable, but of course we try to work hard to not to delay too much.
Thank you, Lexing. Yeah, Michele, do you need?
Yes, I think actually that's a great question, important point that we need to think about. I completely agree with Lexine, but I'm aware, right, of the difficulties, right, in the sense that I'm the worst reviewer. As referees, I'm typically very slow, also because I have other editorial commitments, right? As an editor, however, I try to be quite, how to say, harsher, I say in some ways. In some ways, I try to get, I think that a reasonable timeline, for example, that I always try to achieve is about 3 months from the time the paper gets to my desk, it gets to the AE, the reviewers, and then comes back with the final decision, right? And so I think that I try to get it an average of 3 months typically, right? Could be done better, right? Probably later we will discuss, I think, about my involvement with natural medicine, where the timelines are much faster, right? So I think that there is a need, while I agree with what we have said before, the importance of quality, which we really need to strive to maintain. There is indeed the issue that typically, right, the authors try to go to journals that are also faster. And typically this means that these faster journals often have actually higher visibility. I'm not talking about in statistics, but let's say in the broader community, right? I'm talking about the general field. So it's an important topic, I think, that we somehow have to try to think about for the future.
Thank you. Yeah, Judy.
Statistical Syndicate, I think overall we're doing pretty well thanks to our hardworking AEs. So I was looking at the report that we shared at GSM last year. They added the editorial board meeting. So our average review time at the Statistical Syndicate last year was 51 days, and the median was 28 days. But of course, there were also 95th percentile. It's pretty high. That was over 5 months or close to 5 months, or 4 to 5 months. So those are the outliers that we occasionally have to press associate editors to chase after reviewers. And this is a very good question. I think this is really worth more discussion within the community. How each of us, this relies on our not only associate editor but also reviewers to provide not only timely but also informative feedback to authors. So I think most journals, same as Statistical, when reviewers submit their report in the system, there is a box that we can check how relevant and how timely the reviews are. So oftentimes I would provide some feedback to associate editors and reviewers, but I don't know how those could be incorporated in the future. For future co-editors, they may look at the data, but many people probably don't know such historical data available. So co-editors typically know. I'm not quite sure whether associate editors have such information, whether they can check whether this is a reliable reviewer or decide to go with another reviewer. A question that we may all think about is it possible in the future for reviewers to also earn credits? And how we can use those credits as a return when reviewers in the future are submitting papers to either the same journal or other journal at large in statistics. And so we need to give some incentive to our hardworking reviewers for spending a good amount of time providing feedback to those papers.
It's a great idea, yeah. Need to do some design mechanism to incentivize them to all review faster and better, yeah. So yeah,
or maybe come up like the best reviewer or award for the
right.
journal.
Or prioritize their submission, I mean, for faster review somehow. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Hans, do you have any
We are very concerned about the review times for the Annals of Statistics, especially the right tail that Judy also mentioned. For Annals of Statistics, it's more like 9 months. When we just got a paper from previous editors transferred recently, and there are quite a number of right tail paper in the very right tail. We want to avoid this in the future and make the Annals of Statistics faster. One obvious tool is to increase the desk rejects, which we will do. We are already doing this because some papers have entered the review process that are really not very promising. So that's one way to also lighten the load on referees, because it's increasingly difficult to find good referees everywhere. People are either not willing to referee or they do a bad job. And so the quality and willingness of referees is a real concern, actually, and also that they take too long. And one way is to lighten their load by asking fewer referees and have more decisions by associate editors, for example. So what we also require anybody who submits a paper to Annals of Statistics, whether accepted or rejected, declares willingness to be a referee. This is a requirement. If you are not willing to be a referee for Annals of Statistics, you cannot submit to the Annals of Statistics. We have made this a requirement. When you submit a paper, you have to click the box, I'm willing to serve as referee in the future. So you have to do this, because that's only fair. If you submit a paper, you need to be also willing to serve as a referee. What we also are doing now is no chains of reject with resubmission, which have been also contributing to the very long right tails. So there are papers who got several reject, resubmit. So we don't want that. If we have one reject, resubmit, if next time the paper is not major revision, it will move more or less automatically to reject. Okay, so when you got a reject, resubmit for Annals of Statistics is considered a new paper, and you need to get your act together. You have to be fairly confident you can answer successfully the issues. If that's not the case, you should not actually resubmit after reject and resubmit. We do not want chains of reject and resubmit in any case, because they have led to very long delays in the process. So the last thing I want to say, the editors and also associate editors need to maybe be more audacious to accept a paper that's not 100% perfect. Okay, because a referee may say, well, you should also do this or that simulation study. Maybe it's not that important to do that. And maybe we should also let the author be a bit more responsible to finalize the paper on their own. After all, it's their product. If it's not 100% perfect, it's on them. So we need to also be more accepting of papers that are essentially very good, but where maybe they could be even better in this or that small aspect. Simulation is a typical example. So we do not want to have papers held up because simulation is not covering all possible corners. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks
Yeah,
for
Oh, yeah,
yes, thanks for the thoughtful answers from all the panelists. I agree that we do need more incentive mechanism for good reviewers. And I think this actually exists in all areas in academia, not only for statistics, but also conferences and other area. Now we also have some individual questions for our editors. So the first one is for Judy. You have served in diverse editorial roles, and how do expectations differ across journals like JASA, Statistical Sinica, and others?
when Hans mentioned about the review time, I wanted to chime in because I served as associate editors for Annals of Statistics for quite a number of years. And to be honest, it took me typically, Annals papers took a longer time for associate editors and also for reviewers, because those papers are more technical. It takes a longer time to read papers very carefully, including technical proofs. So I totally understand the workload for associate editors and AEs and reviewers could be high, especially the better you are, the more jobs you will receive. So those people oftentimes are more overloaded. My experience, different journals, pretty much have already covered by the other co-editors. The focus is, there were some commonalities across journals, for instance, the Sinica, JASA, and Annals of Statistics, novelty, significance, impact. I think those are common factors that reviewers are paying the primary attention to. Even though Annals of Statistics is regarded a more theoretical journal than the others, but I think the focuses are still quite the same. But of course, the reviewers are different. They hold different expectations for significance or novelty in different directions.
Great.
Thanks, Judy, for the answer, and also thanks for the additional comments for the previous answer, previous question. So next question is for Hans. So this is specifically for the journal Annals of Statistics. So what kind of advice would you give to authors in AI and machine learning on how to balance the theoretical rigor with practical relevance when they submitting to Annals of Statistics?
Well, the best is to have a good mix. The key actually for machine learning paper is to demonstrate that they are also covering some statistics impact, because it's Annals of Statistics, right? So we want to have the authors demonstrate that whatever they do is impactful for statistics or may be impactful in the future. So there are statistical issues that come up that require to be solved, and either they are solved in a paper or at least they come up as future problems and pointed out in this way. So that would have impact for the future development of statistics, which is also okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Hans. Yeah, I was also thinking about that question. Yeah, that's a great answer. So let me ask Lexing, let's also collect from the audience. For example, Annals Applied Statistics, they have the cover letter, which probably is optional. And Hans mentioned that like Annals of Stats, we need to explain clearly about the novelty in the cover letter, like impact and novelty. For like say, Annals Applied Statistics, when it's optional, do we have to provide that? Would that make the submission procedure a little bit different? The editor will really look into details. Yeah, do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, right now, excuse me, right now we still plan to keep it optional. So that means, yeah, it's up to the author to if they want to submit a cover letter or not. Our review will not be affected by that. On the other hand, I do feel it's probably a good idea and also very important for the authors to be very clear in their paper, not just in the cover letter, but in the paper, or probably even in the introduction section, to be very explicit what's their contribution, what's their novelty, what's new for that paper. I think that is going to be very helpful for the reviewers, for the AEs, as well as for the future audience, right? So I would strongly recommend to make that part as clear as possible, probably at the beginning of the paper. Yeah.
Thank you, Leshin. Yeah. Our last question for Michael's individual question, like you serve as like other journals like Nature Medicine. What lessons, good or bad lessons you learn from this general like scientific publication? You think that statistical journals can maybe adopt or avoid?
Okay, so first of all, I wanted to say, so this is actually a new initiative of American Statistical Association to partner with natural medicine in specific areas and try to provide a more thorough statistical review, in particular a statistical review process which is incorporated in the usual review process of a journal. So a few things that I think are interesting. Of course, it's very different, the type of focus and the type of submissions that you see in statistical journals in Nature Medicine. I think if you have to think about things that you can start to reason about. On one hand, as I mentioned before, the timeline, right? The timeline in Nature Medicine is 2-3 weeks for review, right? And this is very fast. The review is volunteering. We don't get any money for that, right? So that's important. So it's still a volunteering-based approach. One can discuss about that, but this is the situation. If I look at the reviews from statistical reviewers, but we also see the reviewers from medical reviewers, right? What I'm actually struck about is that actually it is of high quality, right? Even medical reviewers are very clinical clinicians are very high quality, give very high quality reviews, which is quite surprising given also the time that they have available. So maybe have to think about ways in which, again, maybe we can try to decrease the timeline, increase the speed of our review process. Another point that I wanted that is kind of clear to me is that typically when we do about articles, right? The focus is typically centers on the modeling, on the theory, and the data analysis sometimes is just an illustration of the theory. Here instead, of course, for the nature of thing, right, of the things that you are reviewing, the interest is on the entire study from essentially experimental design. So it's important in particular that the analysis is going to match the statistical protocol and is going to actually answer the questions and the hypotheses that the investigators had at the beginning. So with these, I think there is a different also ways in which articles are written, right? There is a clearly articulated research question that's been answered. So there is very interesting this impact. And also, illustrations, figures are typically very informative. There are highlights, right? So it's a bit more direct way to present the material. So these are things that as a statistical community, I think we can try to learn from.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Yeah, I totally agree that a good figure, for example, can enhance the exposition, the paper. Great. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. It's about time to close the panel. We hope our discussion has been helpful to the audience. I know there are still a lot of questions haven't been covered from the audience, haven't been covered in today's discussion, and ICSA will host another panel discussion with journal editors in the future. Once again, on behalf of ICSA, we would like to extend our gratitude to all our panelists for taking their time on weekend to join us. We're really looking forward to seeing all of you at another panel discussion.
Can I say something before we finish, though? Sorry.
Yes, please,
Michele. Someone asked about this. Don't be afraid of communicating with the editors as long as you're polite, right? I think we are all willing to give, replies. If you have any questions, just reach out. We are researchers like everybody else, right? So just be polite because we are trying to do our best, right? Thank you very much.
Great suggestion. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for the closing remark.
Thank you. It's good to see everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.